All right, the situation with FTX has been absolutely crazy, and if you're like me, it's been hard to keep up. Everything I've seen so far is on the potential mishandling of money, Sam Bankman-Fried himself, and some maybe shady things that he had done, and then as well as some things on Alameda Research. However, I haven't seen too much in terms of the actual numbers behind FTX, how much users they had, how much money they actually had on their platform, and that kind of thing. But as a statistics major, well, those qualitative things like the mishandling of money and what Sam Bankman-Fried did are important. They're definitely important for the situation. I think we need some numbers to back that up and understand what the impact of this could be on the crypto world and anybody who had their money on FTX. But let's talk about some of the statistics and some of the numbers behind this FTX situation. So before all this fiasco, here's some of the numbers behind FTX. Their last round of funding, they were considered to be worth an $18 billion company. And I'm sure over the past year or so, you've seen some of the massive marketing they've done. They have had a 19-year naming rights with the Miami Heat Arena. If you saw, that's FTX Arena. They had a 10-year naming deal with the esports organization TSM, and that was worth over $200 million. They've had popular athletes like Tom Brady and Steph Curry, and they've also signed a deal with the MLB. All the umpires have FTX on their shirts, and they also spent millions upon millions of dollars for their Super Bowl ad last year featuring Larry David. So with this much marketing, they have to have some money coming in, right? Well, the marketing definitely worked. I'll say that because last year alone, they brought in $1.02 billion in revenue. So that's all for 2021, and that's up from $85 million the year before in 2020. So a massive increase from 2020 to 2021, and that's, I'm sure, partially due to all the marketing that they've been doing. And now, due to this marketing, as of the start of 2021, they had 1.2 million mobile and desktop users. Now, I'm sure since then this number has went up, but I couldn't find anything clear, so I just left it from 2021. But that's as of the start of 2021, and that's almost 2 years ago. So I'm sure this number has increased quite a bit since then, especially with how much money they were spending on marketing. Now, here's where things get interesting. Let's get into 2022. So this huge user base that they have, which is millions upon millions of users between their mobile and desktop versions. They brought in $3.45 trillion with a T in trading volume since the start of this year. Now that is absolutely massive. Now to put that into perspective, last year in 2021, they made $388 million in profit off of $719 billion in trading volume. So that's billion with a B, trillion with a T. So we could estimate that FTX this year alone has probably made about somewhere in the ballpark of $1.85 billion in profit since January 1st. And yes, that's all other things equal. I'm sure their marketing budget has changed. I'm sure a lot of things have changed. And even though we know this is a huge company valued at $18 billion in their last round of funding, we need to understand how big this is in comparison to the rest of the crypto world. Alright, so here we can see the daily trading volume for FTX. So you can see over the past year or so, it's hovered around $12 billion a day in daily trading volume. And we can see again down here that $3.45 trillion in trading volume year to date. So that's just to put FTX in perspective. But how does that compare to maybe an American company like Coinbase? So if we jump over to the daily trading volume of Coinbase, we can see that number hovers a lot closer to the $2 billion to $1.5 billion mark. And now obviously that's trending downwards from a lot of the crypto crash, and people probably aren't buying and trading as much crypto lately. But that aside, FTX is still about 5 to 10 times bigger than Coinbase. And everybody thinks of Coinbase as being a big company, which it is, but FTX is 5 to 10 times the size of that. Now, obviously, FTX is the second biggest crypto exchange behind Binance. So we can see that Binance hovers around $50 to $75 billion in daily trading volume. So we can say that Binance on average 5 to 7.5 times the size of FTX in terms of daily trading volume. And we can see that their year-to-date trading volume is about $19.16 trillion. So still about 4 to 7 times bigger than FTX in terms of trading volume year to date. However, with FTX being the second biggest one and still a huge company in its own right, that's a lot of money that we really don't know what is going to happen to it. So a lot of users have their money in FTX and they haven't been able to take it out. So that's a lot of money that could potentially just be disappearing. Now, outside of your everyday average investors, there's also some institutional investors in FTX that could be losing all of the money that they had invested. So here's Sequoia Capital. They have about $200 million in FTX that could be gone. Another one, Temasek, about $205 million in FTX. Paradigm, $215 million in FTX. And the Ontario Teachers Pension Plan, about $80 million in FTX. So it's not only people that have their money in crypto on FTX that could be losing out on a lot of money. There's also some institutional investors that could be missing out on millions of dollars of investment, depending on what happens with FTX over the next few weeks. Now, I can't explain this super well, but FTX's own token, FTT, over the past couple of weeks has also dropped a ton. We can see that it was trading around $25 to $22, and then over the past week has absolutely plummeted and is currently trading at $1.47. Now, what FTX was doing was they were taking a lot of the money that people were trading and buying crypto on their actual exchange and taking that money over and putting it in FTT, which is apparently a little bit of a shady situation. I don't know the full details behind that, but I'm just looking at the numbers. And we can see here that according to CNN Business, that was about $10 billion of customer funds that FTX had transferred to FTT, which is through their trading company Alameda Research, which you might be hearing a lot in the news as well. So they had taken $10 billion from their customer funds and put that somewhere in Alameda Research, and a lot of that was going to FTT token, which absolutely got deleted, as you saw in that last graph. And they're saying that the total amount that these investors could have actually lost is anywhere from 1 to 2 billion, but I have a feeling that there's a chance that could be a lot more than that. So that is the FTX fiasco by the numbers.